Huh. Who knew that making one huge Zelda project makes me to become a Zelda tuber for collabs? It's the hat, isn't it? It's always the hat! Oh well, roll intro.
Hey!
Watch it! I'm researching here!
Researching the Twilight realm? I thought your next Ganondorf video was gonna be...
Shh! Don't date the video already! This is much more important!
Does this tie into your Kirby video idea? You know, the one from years ago you never made a sequel of?
No. How do you even know about that?
You wrote it on a post-it here at your campsite.
Huh. I would normally use my phone for that. But I guess plot convenience, eh?
So, why are you researching the Twilight anyway?
Well, I think I found out who their true god is. Not Ganondorf. That was Zan's god. I mean, the whole reason why the Twilight are who they are and who they worship. I even use ancient scriptures, but they tend to be inaccurate, especially this blue one.
Isn't that just...
Anyway, since you're here, why not help me with my research?
Well, why not? At least it isn't deciphering the Zelda timeline or something.
Oh, you poor fool. I think we all know who the Twilight are. They are a tribe of magic users that got banished to the Twilight Realm after causing a war over the Sacred Realm's dominion. For ages they lived there, and this resulted in two sides of the royal family being at odds. The side that wants to break out of the realm and take revenge on Hyrule, represented by Xanta in the game, and the side that wants to live in peace in the Twilight Realm and not caring about Hyrule, represented by Midna in the game. And while we can talk about the thinking process of the Twilight and its politics, we will focus on their culture and history that will lead us down the road to reveal the true god of the Twilight and the interlopers. Our first hint is actually with Xanta and his methods. While Ganondorf appears to him as some flaming head, and appears to him as a god per se, he grants Xan power to do as he wishes and he takes over Hyrule piece by piece. The strangest thing is, their predecessors wanted dominion over the Sacred Realm, and any cutscene or information about this shows that the interlopers were willing to use their magic to rule over everything. Even in the cutscenes, we see the Fused Shadow cover the Triforce in a way to defy the Hyrulean royal family. So Xan claiming Ganondorf as a god is quite unusual. He's even willing to cast aside his ancestors' magic, claiming it's ancient and wilted of all things. It isn't until Midna reclaims the Fused Shadow that she ultimately kills Xan on the throne, with a mere fraction of the mask's true power. So why did Xan give up on the forefathers' way, even saying that their old methods were wrong and siding so strongly with Ganondorf? Well, that is simple. There was a god before, and hints lay in the creation of the Fused Shadow.
The Fused Shadow. A powerful transformation mask created as the ultimate weapon during the Interloper War. Its 4 pieces were scattered into 3 temples across Hyrule, with its 4th piece being sealed in the Twilight Realm by the Light Spirits. So, what was this power they were trying to attain? Well, put succinctly, it was to emulate the power and form of their god. When Midna wears the full mask, she turns into this monstrous magical mess made up of 7 arms, with the 7th being used as a leg to stand on. But the Fused Shadow always seems to be on top, as a head. This power is enough to shatter Ganondorf's barrier and even offer him a fight we will never see. But considering the Light Spirits were enough to beat the Fused Shadow in the past, and the fact Ganondorf emerges victorious and still challenges Link and Zelda to a fight after this, we can confirm that the Fused Shadow is in some way incomplete. Before you ask if it is because the Fused Shadow was broken, we doubt that, to be honest, as its name suggests that it's the Fused Shadow, a fusion of 4 things. What these 4 shadows are specifically, we do not know, but we speculate that the Fused Shadow's ideas come from another artifact in Hyrule, the 4 Sword. This sword allows its wielder to split into 4 and can undo spells spells cast by dark magic. In Four Swords Adventures, it can even break dark barriers scattered across Hyrule, similar to Midna breaking the barrier of Hyrule Castle with the Fused Shadow. Furthermore, and strangely enough, the Four Sword and the Fused Shadow share the same acronym, FS. Though this may simply be coincidental, the two are clearly connected in some way. One splits the user in four. The other fuses four together into one magical being. Could it be that the interlopers made the Fused Shadow in a way to pervert the way of the Four Sword in defiance to the royal family? Well, we believe so. In fact, the Fused Shadow might be created to especially counter the Four Sword, even though the sword lays dormant with the sealed Vati. If we just look at the Four Sword Sanctuary from Four Swords, we can clearly see the stone depiction of Vati being sealed within the sword. This depiction of Vati seems very particular to how he actually looks, almost intentional, and this design has very distinctive traits to that of the masks seen worn by the Twili. This is quite suggestive and can lead one to believe Vati may just be the forgotten god of the Twili.
Indeed, Vati, the Wind Mage himself, is the god of the Twilight, as there are many clues spread throughout Twilight culture that sorta hints to him, with the first being the Fused Shadow. Comparing the two from their front-facing angle, we see some similarities, especially the head area being a head crest similar to Vati's. The main blob is much wider and circular in design, if not unstable, and his long thin arms are similar to arms Vati can use as well as thicker ones. Even Vati's transformation in the Minish Cap makes it seem his form is more liquid and ever-changing, and in his Wrath form we can see that his form is, while powerful, is always constantly reshaping, just like the Fused Shadow's form. But that's not all. When we look at the back of the Fused Shadow's helmet, we can see these protruding curls as if it's wind. And when we look at the Vati mural at the Four Sword Sanctuary, we see these similar curls sticking out of Vati as well as around him. Though we see the eye in the Fused Shadow with having a bit more of a Majora inspiration, we do know that the Fused Shadow only has one defined eye, unlike Majora's Mask who has two defined eyes. Another hint is in some of the masks on the Shadow Beasts. All of them have this one large circle surrounded by two small serpent-like carvings. While the standard Beast's mask has a large circular eye in the middle, the royal ones that accompany Zant have a smaller top one with a golden circle around the eye. This reminds us of Vati's eye in any of his orb forms, as it's always surrounded by gold. Though we do not know anything about the serpents, we may have some idea what it means, but again, we will go into that for another time, otherwise this video will be too long.
So, that's it, right? We've proven without a doubt Vati is the god of the interlopers and Twilight, right? Well, maybe. The evidence doesn't quite add up for us just yet. After all, how did Vati become their god to begin with? You see, there is the issue of when the Interloper War occurred. Its placement within the timeline is kinda up in the air, kinda. Also, Kotlol, I thought you said this wouldn't touch upon the Zelda timeline. You know dang well this is an endless debate. Why would you do this to me? Anyway, we believe the Interloper War happened after Four Swords and before the Hyrulean Civil War, as this is the only time that seems to work. Unless you accept the fact Nintendo keeps changing it and says, it's just another interpretation of the timeline. Which honestly is a bit of a cop-out. So, semantics aside, looking at in-game lore, which is far more solidified and unquestionable. At the end of Minish Cap, Vati gets defeated but is not sealed within the Four Sword. We also do not hear of his title, the Wind Mage, at all during the Minish Cap. When he is actually referred to as the Wind Mage, it's in the game Four Swords, where Vaati kidnapped several maidens and was eventually sealed away within, you guessed it, the Four Sword. In contrasts of Four Swords events regarding Vaati the Wind Mage, what occurs within Minish Cap is somewhat different and doesn't quite line up. Therefore, we must assume that Vaati would have returned at one point as the Wind Mage. And this is what we believe is the moment Vaati got in touch with the interloper's ancestors and proclaimed his title as a god, inspiring authority through his dominance of magical power, ruling the realm of the heavens in the Palace of Winds within Minish Cap. It is at this point we the player can actually enter and observe that particular area, and when we do, we meet a tribe of people named the Wind Tribe, and the Palace of Winds is their sacred temple that holds the last element, centuries after the Minish Cap. But before the events of Four Swords takes place, Vaati returned and revealed himself to the Wind Tribe. His power could destroy the cloud tops, and thus they proclaimed him as their god. They even make him a statue in his honor, as we see in Four Swords. Then, shortly after Four Swords events begin, he starts kidnapping maidens, as he probably cannot find the mortal incarnation of Hylia, Princess Zelda, to steal the light force from her. He finds out none of the kidnapped maidens contain the light force and supposedly holds them for ransom. Eventually, a new hero pulls the Four Sword and defeats Vaati, but the Wind Tribe is forced to flee from their homeland. Now, why do we think the Wind Tribe are the interlopers and the Twili? Simple. They all have red hair and pale skin, similar to that of the Twili. While Midna has more orangey hair, someone like Zant has the same shade of red as the Wind Tribe. Now, we won't go any deeper into this due to how long the video already is, and we don't want to inflate this theory any further, so link in the top right corner for that one.
So there you have it. Now, why did the interlopers went for the Sacred Realm? Well, that is simple. In Four Swords Adventures, the Four Swords Sanctuary has been sealed away until the Six Maidens and Zelda opened the way. And during the Minish Cap, the Sanctuary is only open during the Picori Festival. Now, if your god defies the royal family, then gets sealed away, and the location is hidden by the family that it was fighting, where would you go? The place where you hear their ultimate power lays. So, for centuries after Vaati was sealed, and released by accident but sealed away quickly again, they have been conducting experiments to make a power similar to their god, and took note of the royal family's powers, history, and tools to make a power similar to them. But instead it came out dark and twisted, just to show that the royal family is wrong and their god was right. While the Fused Shadow was their ultimate attempt to make a power similar to the Four Sword, they must have known about Zelda's power, right? Did they ever try making something similar to that power? In the form of some sort of mask? In fact, they may have made many masks to control and transform into things, as we see in Twilight Princess Shadow Beasts. Were they some sort of mask cult in the end? If so, did they try to make their own Zelda? After all, they have their own royal family. And what about the link to Majora with that eye? Is that also a link to Vaati? Could it be? Were they conducting experiments for eons and maybe one mask was the focus? Could it be that Majora...
Well, for that, you have to go to my channel, where you can go deeper into the dark experiments the interlopers have done to get the results they had. Click the link in the description or in the upper right corner to go there, and we will see you there. Oh yeah, don't forget to click like and subscribe to both our channels.